Welcome back, watch people. So coming up in just a couple of moments is an interview with my good friend David Khalil from Watch Collectors. Haven't heard from David for a while, and if you hang around and you're interested, at the end of this video you'll get to see my new 2023 summer ride. That's a new Harley Davidson Sport Glide. That's all coming up your way right now. So, David, a very warm welcome back to the show. Always a pleasure to have you on. How's life at Watch Collectors?
Well, the pleasure is all mine, Paul. I've missed your channel. Haven't been on there for a while. No, all going well. All going well. Working hard, trying our best.
How's the watch business, mate?
It's you got your good days and bad days. Slightly quieter than you want it to be, but still good enough to work. So we're still doing all right. So
yeah, where do you think we are right now? Because obviously, I think everyone was hoping that things would steady out and maybe even pick up in the summer. That's what I predicted, at least. I wouldn't say that we're quite in the height of the summer yet, because that's really not until next month and probably August. But would you say things are as good as you'd hope now, or not quite reached the level that you'd like?
Well, busyness, it hasn't reached the level that we'd like. We're still working, still making money, but it hasn't reached the level that we like. But price-wise, I feel like I don't see prices dropping at the moment anymore, because at one point it dropped fast and then it kind of slowed down. And right now, all I've seen is certain models, the really popular stuff, is starting to creep a little bit back up. I'm starting to see, like ceramic Daytonas pick back up. I know we always use them as an example, but ceramic Daytona right now is a good measure of the market. But yeah, I've seen some prices go a little bit back up. Some prices have flattened out. I'm not seeing that big drop anymore. So to me, it looks like things have stabilized. Now it's just a matter of getting people confident again in spending more and more money. I know you say heading towards the summer. In general, heading towards the summer, just before the summer, things get a bit busier. People go out shopping, they buy watches, they go on holiday with them, But I am fairly optimistic for kind of after the holidays, September onwards. I think Christmas, heading towards the Christmas season, should sort a lot of these things out.
Yeah.
Once, because prices, I believe, have stabilized. You get just a slightly more busy season and people start to see that more and more watches are flying off the shelf, then the consumer will build a little bit more confidence in buying watches, because we've built the confidence. Now I feel confident in knowing what to bid on a watch, because we got to a point where it was too hard to bid on a watch because you don't know where it will be tomorrow, let alone the following week. But now I'm comfortable saying, well, this is what I'll pay today, because I know that that's what it's worth.
It's an interesting point, because a lot of the dealers that I speak to at the moment, they appear to be marketing their business now more towards the consignment side of things. I know that consignment is something that you've always been very wary of. You've advised a lot of people about the dangers, and rightly so in many aspects. Is that something that you're maybe having a bit of a change of heart on, David?
Consignment for me is not a style of business that I would like to run the business on. If I was to consign, I would do consignment at a very small scale relative to the size of the company. So I would do like 10% consignment, 90% full ownership of the watches. The reason I would do consignment is to keep my customers with us, to achieve the best price for the customer. I wouldn't do consignment as a whole to run the whole business, is because, not to sound arrogant, we don't need the credit. If I'm able to buy outright, we don't need the credit. No, but what I'm saying is consignment tends to be a very attractive deal to dealers that need the credit, or dealers that don't want to take on the responsibility of owning the watches. But we believe in this market, and I don't see a reason why I can't back it up with money. So Personally, would I take on consignment? It would be on a very small scale to keep some of my customers happy and keep them with us, and to achieve the best price possible for them so they don't go elsewhere. So that's kind of more of a customer retention rather than a style of business. And the reason I'm always wary, sorry, I know I'm taking a bit long, but the reason I'm always wary of consignment is because many of the companies doing consignment, and this is a bold statement, many of the companies doing consignment or consignment-based business cannot afford to pay for the watches, and hence why they take things on consignment. And the only reassurance they can provide the customer with is an insurance policy. And we all know that insurance doesn't always pay out. So if something
Yeah.
was to go wrong and insurance doesn't pay out, then that customer is finished. Because especially in the UK here, being a limited company, you close the company down, you fold the company down if you can't afford to pay people, and that's it. Finished. The
Do you
person in
think?
the loss is the customer. But sorry, this is why I say when you consign your watches, consign with a company that has a lot of money and a lot of assets. So if something was to go wrong, they can afford to liquidate and pay you. That's
Yeah.
the only
No, I
reason
agree.
I say I'm not a
I
fan.
agree. I agree totally with what you're saying. It's just that I have seen a slight shift, not only here in the UK. I was in the United States last month, as you know, and a lot of the dealers there that would normally do business like yourself, 99% ownership, have moved slightly towards the consignment business module. Now, I don't know why that is, or if it's a good thing. I think it certainly suits
Well, that
them from financial.
sorry,
Gone.
but that's while prices were dropping. This is what I'm saying, that it was very hard to to make a bid on watches while
Yeah,
prices are down. When prices are going down, it's very hard to make a bid. So it's more attractive to consign because you're testing the market with other people's money rather than yours. That's why it was very attractive. But what I'm saying now is you will find that dealers slowly are more willing to buy. Now, we've always been buyers throughout the whole process. It's just at the moment, with prices stabilizing, we're more confident buyers than we were a month ago or 2 months ago.
what level are
And
you at now, David? If I was to look at your consignment level right now, percentage wise, what are you? 99% ownership.
at the moment, I don't believe we have a single watch on consignment on the website.
Okay, so 100%.
At the moment, yes.
Yeah.
I took on one watch with a. Actually, sorry, there is one watch. Sorry, one watch. I took it in as a favor for a customer. So that's what I'm saying. If you want to do one of your very good so this is a customer that spent a lot of money with us and he's become a friend, and I want to genuinely achieve the best price possible for them, so I'll just do it, you know. But
Yeah.
do I need to do it with every single customer? No, I don't, because I'm doing it in a very generous way for him, and it's not feasible to run the business like that. It's just a very good customer of mine, became a friend of the business, a friend of all of us here, and I just wanted to please him basically. But
You know yourself, when I was in business and we used to do a lot of business together, all of my stuff was always paid for. I never borrowed anything from anyone.
no, you wouldn't even take credit from us. In the meantime, some of the biggest watch dealers in the UK would take credit from us. They would pay us over like 3 months, even up to 6 months. You knew we were fairly generous with credit, and but you never took it. You've always paid us up front, and that's something I've always respected, something I've always appreciated. You like to do your business and move on. You didn't want to think about anything. That's the same style we run the business here.
Yeah. So, David, you obviously saw the Sky News report the other night that actually featured your shopping as well. Um, the figure of 11,000 stolen watches in 2022, did that surprise you?
Um, it it did surprise me. It was a huge number. I saw the reporter say that right in front of me on camera, and I was a bit when she took the cut. I was I said, "Are you sure that's 11?" She said, "Yeah, we've checked. It's 11,000." And it seems like such a high number, but then you know you tend to only hear about the major cases that happen. I guess a lot of these robberies are non how can we say non-violent. It could be fraud, it could be pickpocket, it could be a lot of that going on, but you hear about the major cases.
Yeah.
But I would say what doesn't surprise me is you don't hear about a lot of these cases, just like you don't hear a lot about missing wallets or missing credit cards or missing, handbags or missing, you know what I mean? So missing cars, motorcycles. I recently bought a motorcycle, and to my surprise, I learned about how much you need to secure a motorcycle on the road. In order just to find it there after you finish work and go to a public street. They actually like rip the chains off, and uh, it's bizarre. So did it surprise me? Yes, but in the general, concept of things, no, actually. Um,
Yeah.
if people are ripping motorcycles off lampposts in daylight, what says they wouldn't pickpocket somebody for their watch or for their handbag or for their credit cards? And it's just endless. But yes, it's sad to hear, and it's sad to know that the police aren't doing much about it.
David, I want to turn the tables on you a little bit this afternoon and ask you a question that everyone keeps asking me, the media included. Just why do you think all this crime is so rife at the moment and taking place right across the UK? What do you think the root cause of it is?
Um, I think I think things in general aren't great. I'm talking about the general market, not just watches. And people need money. And when people need money, it forces people to do things that are unlawful, unethical, robberies, basically. I think you're just as likely to have your watch robbed off your wrist, just as likely as, I don't know, holding your wallet with an open hand and walking down the street. If you
But
don't put
having
your
no
wallet,
money, though, but money being short, that's not an excuse. I mean, when I grew up, my family was short, but they didn't go out stealing, so there's got to be something else going on.
well, if we look at the grand scheme of things, right, I'm talking about what changed recently. But personally, what I find the main cause of it is me being a younger person a few years ago, I used to be able to wear a 50 grand watch on my wrist and walk down the street and nobody would even care. But at the same time, you would look around and every couple of minutes you find a pair of police officers just walking down the street casually. Because there was foot patrol, there was car patrol, there were police officers on motorbikes, there was a lot more police support available.
Yeah.
There used to be the community support officers, which a lot of people made fun of them because they have no power, but they were the eyes and ears of the police on the street, and the streets were flooded with them. Then, as you're aware, during Theresa May times, she, or let's say, sacked 30,000 police officers, and things went downhill from there, I guess. The streets became empty when it comes to police presence.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you can recall it back to that time. This is when things started to get quite bad, and these pickpockets or these thieves started to look for any open opportunity to the point where they can come in with an angle grinder and steal a bike on the street, let alone just a quick theft of somebody's wrist or just beat somebody up. And it became so easy because once you pass that initial, what would you say, 15, 20 minutes of running away, you became very hard to catch. But before, you had police everywhere. They'll catch you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And that to me is what's changed, and that's what needs to come back.
So lack of police visibility is high on your list. I will say, mate. I mean, I've been to America twice this year, and the visible level of policing, at least in the United States, particularly in New York, where there was a police officer on every single street corner, virtually wherever you turned, you could see a police officer. By stark contrast, in London, I was in London a few weeks back, and I was in central London all day and all evening, and I never saw one police officer during that entire time. That's got to be a problem, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're given, by discussing this a lot, is good. It brings awareness. But at the same time, we're giving the watch industry a bad rep because these robberies, whilst they're ugly and whilst nobody deserves to be robbed, but you're just as likely to have your watch robbed as you are to have your phone robbed.
Absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely.
it's not just watches, because we keep talking about watches and watch theft. The only reason we're talking about watch theft is because it became more common in the last few years, and that's because of the social media hype around watches.
Yeah.
Now these thieves have opened their eyes to those valuables, but handbags were always being robbed. Mobile phones were always being robbed, and they
Yeah,
still are. In
right.
fact, I'll be very interested to know how many iPhones and Android phones were stolen over the last year, because I bet you anything it's probably well over 11,000. We just
Yeah,
don't talk about it because it was always common. Now we're talking about the new thing that is getting robbed. So
yeah,
whilst I believe we should put the message out there, but we should also say that it is safe to wear a watch, just being sensible with
yeah.
it.
And this is part. This is also, David. I'm glad you said that, because I brought this up in another video. You know, for watches, read mobile phones, handbags, motorcycles, bikes, whatever you want to mention. I think the one difference is between all of those items and watches is that we actually wear a watch. So that item has to be physically removed, either voluntary or involuntary, from your actual bodily person. Whereas if it's a handbag or a phone, they tend to be snatched out of your hand or snatched off of a table. The actual physical element, the closeness, the physical contact is not there. The same as when you have a motorbike stolen. Now, I've had a motorbike stolen myself. In the last 3 years, I had a very expensive motorbike stolen. I only left the goddamn thing for 10 minutes, and when I came back, it had gone. But I didn't find that a personal loss as such. It didn't affect me as in like I was, face to face with the perpetrators. They weren't close to me. They didn't offer me any personal physical damage. So I think that's probably one of the differences. But you're absolutely right. Not enough police on the streets. The visible presence has dropped to virtually zero. And until that is put right, I don't think things are going to get any better. Ironically, they've just run a pilot scheme up in Cumbria somewhere where they've put police officers back on the beat, as it were, walking around doing patrols, and crime has dropped. I think it was 70 odd % in the first month, which just goes to prove your point, right?
One of the weirdest things that I saw this year was on Coronation Day and surrounding the Coronation Day, a day before, a couple of days before, just the amount of police around Mayfair. It
Yeah,
was actually quite comforting to see. To see, a pair of police officers patrolling the street back and forth, and to see different police officers. It's just continuously, every few minutes, I would look outside the shop and I would find that there are police officers there, and I looked at Alan and I said, "When was the last time we saw that sight?" It's been
yeah.
years. It's been
Well,
years since we saw
my
that sight.
question, mate, is where are they when there's not a coronation?
Um, Good question. Good question, but I don't think there's enough of them. I really
They,
don't think there's enough of them.
you see, I agree with you that they're playing devil's advocate slightly. One of the problems, I think, is that perhaps there is enough of them. We just don't see enough of them.
I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd like to
Very
give them the
rarely.
benefit of the doubt. Having a couple of police officers that I know to be friends of mine, personal friends of mine, I know how hard they work, and I know how much overtime they do, and I know all the night shifts that they do. So I'd
Oh,
like to
David,
give them the benefit of the doubt.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, and I've got on record time again as saying that the problem I feel lies upstairs. It's not it's not the boots on the ground. It's not your average everyday Bobby that's out there doing their job. It's the problem is upstairs, and even further upstairs into Parliament, the politics, etc. But that is a completely another story. David, it's been lovely having you on board again. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. Going to try and get up to see you this week.
Amazing. My pleasure, man. See you next time.
Speak to you soon, mate. Take it easy. Right, guys, I promised you I'd let you have a look at the new Harley, so here it is. So there you go. What do you make of it? Let me know.